Hi, in this video, I thought I could take you on a little bit of a journey through the development of computers through the eyes of computer games, or through the perspective of computer games, and then onwards into AI, and to have a quick look at what AI is currently capable of. Like, it is happening right now. You can go out and buy runtime on these devices or AIs and create things. So starting at the very beginning, and I can't remember how old I was, but my parents cobbled a bit of money together and bought me the first family computer. It was a Sinclair ZX81, had 16 kilobytes of memory, and we didn't have a recording device for it. So bless her, my mum actually wrote the computer programs, copied them out of a book to run them. And this was in fact the first computer game I played. It's called Frogga. Very, very simple, black and white, and you have just got to literally get from one side of the screen to the other. You really, really have to use your imagination here to even understand what's going on. And then some time passes, and in between times, I'm not going to take you through every single iteration here, but I had a BBC type computer. It was called an Acorn Electron. I think that had 32 or 64 kilobytes of memory. So we're going on a couple of years there. And I had a couple of games for it. And then the next big iteration came when I got something, a little bit like this. It was a 386. And then onwards I went, and this is perhaps my early teen years. This was a game called MechWarrior. And you can see how simple the graphics are, but they are color now. Not many colors, so to create an in-between color, you had to mix them pixel by pixel. Again, you're having to use your imagination quite a lot here. But there are recognizable things. Now, in this instance, you're a robot, and you've been sent to shoot down other robots in a big game. And then we move on to my misspent university years. This game was called X-Wing. So we can say there's been another leap in resolution. It's still extremely chunky, pixelated, but you can see that we've got a lot more colors here. We've potentially moved to 256 colors. And of course, as it was X-Wing, look, there we go. We have a Star Destroyer, and you're tasked with chasing down other little space things, TIE fighters, and there are missions. It's a lot more structured. There's a lot more to do. There's lots more different kinds of enemies and things that you can look at. You can't leave space. You can't go down to a planet or anything like that. But you can see the progression here. Quite a bit of time later, and I think we're going into my late 20s at this point. My interest in computers continued. And this time I'm really geeking out now. I've got into water cooling. Now, of course, you could still air cool these systems, but water cooling is quiet, and you could have some fun with it. So I ended up with something along the lines of this. And at this point, the graphics have started to get a lot better. You can see the graduation in colors here. We can see textures on the wall. We can see lighting. I think the specular lighting as well. There's fogging effects. There's posters on the wall, lots of 3D stuff. So this was a horror game, rather violent, but the realism has gone up to the extent that there is actually a sense of threat. They combine some techniques used in horror films with the sense of agency that you have in a game, and your desire to move through levels to create something that was actually induced a sense of, in fact, it was called fear. It did induce a sense of fear, and it was extremely engaging to play. And it's still, at this point, it's you against the computer. We've not gone on to multiplayer games yet. And I kind of stopped gaming around about this point for some interesting reasons, some of which were philosophical. And then I'm going to go from here, which is, crumbs, what is it, 20 years ago, through to present day. It's a big leap. Okay, so this is in-game footage from a trailer for the latest game coming out next year. So this is quite remarkable. I mean, we're not quite at photorealism yet. When characters are moving and you've got motion blur, they actually are getting towards photorealism. They're moving in the right kind of way. The voiceovers will be more or less perfect. Okay, so moving on from games, I want to play you this. So Google is in the AI game, and it's doing extremely well. Its current models are as good as anything by OpenAI or any of the Chinese ones, and they're getting near the top of the charts. But one of the things Google does is that it has AI film generation. And it just wowed everyone because it kind of crossed a few benchmarks. And if you've not seen this kind of thing before, I think you'll be as stunned as I was when I saw it. Notice the sound of the horse.
This town ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay, that was not a voice actor. That was the AI. And that glass ball there was an incredible amount of detail and generated a reflection. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this gets a little fudgy, doesn't it? But let's go on to the next one. So this was their example of accents and voices. And this is all AI generated
I love
as well.
accents.
Can't wait for summer, eh? Need to get inside, it's so cold.
It's freezing up here. I just love my voice.
Just occasionally you'll see one and you're like, oh, yeah, maybe that was AI.
Wow, this place is amazing.
Which is the fastest way to the airport.
And some of the way that the speech is coming across sounds quite stilted. And I don't know, that could actually be deliberate. But you can see where we're at here. This really did come as a surprise to me. And I sort of feel sometimes that I should be up to speed on this. And the reality is that the capabilities of the systems, they're progressing so quickly, it's hard to know what to expect. So we're going to go from video and gaming now, and we're going to go on to something called vibe coding. So vibe coding is when you are able to conceptualize a web application or a website or a smartphone app or some kind of program, and you can go onto an AI and you can describe that program in ever-increasing amount of detail, and the app will program it for you. So you don't need to know any coding. Now, of course, it helps if you do know coding, and the apps at this point, they do have their limitations. They will get stuck down blind alleyways and trip over themselves. And eventually, if you want a really good code base, you're going to have to take it to a coder and probably get it refactored. That being said, let's just have a look at one of these. I've got a video here. So this is build and deploy an interactive map with Replit. This guy's going to give us a demo. Matt Palmer, just found him on YouTube. So look, he wants to make this map, SF Parks map. He wants an interactive map of San Francisco's parks and public spaces that allows him to discover new places. Okay, so what types of data? Woods, beaches, peaks, caves. All right. And I've not watched this in its entirety, nor will we, but let's just see where he gets to. So what he's doing here is he's breaking down the problem, and you can see that bit there where it said the prompt. Okay, so one of the skills for vibe coding, or in fact for any use of AI, is that you sit there at a prompt, and the prompt has nothing on it. And this is the point at which you ask an AI a question. And it follows the principle garbage in, garbage out. So if you ask it a stupid question, you won't get useful information out of it. Similarly, if you ask it to create an app for you and you haven't thought through the structure of the app, you're going to get a very confused response from it. And then this can apply also to asking it for something like, I don't know, summarize all the intellectual thought about the passing of time, something like this. It's a very general prompt. You could ask it that, you might get some usable results, but it's likely that you won't be able to do much with them. You'd have to consider an AI as if it's a graduate student of some skill, but not a subject matter expert. And so you have to guide it through what you want it to do. And we'll look at that in a minute. All right, let's see where this guy gets to. Okay, this is the early stages of the development. This is a program called Replit. I'm just going to zoom on through here and see how far he gets. So we're 11 minutes in there, and you can see it's already generated a map, some tick boxes. Looks like he's going through some error correction here. Let's look where he gets to. This is 14 minutes in. So he's got some nice icons now. That's beginning to actually look like a usable app. Now, of course, it's 14 minutes into the video. This is a little unfair. I don't know whether or not he's sped up the video or taken any shortcuts or cut some stuff out. So you don't know. But I have had reasonably similar success rates in generating things like this myself. And of course, when you want to refine a product, that's when you start to take time. I'm going to go on to the next one. Just another example here. This guy's very excitable. He's going to tell us about a whole bunch of people vibe coding games, in fact, using AI. And some of them have gone viral, and for those games that have gone viral, these people have made a huge amount of money overnight on things like advertising. So this is a guy, he made a little flight simulator, and he just did it by prompting an AI. It's completely usable. You can see it's quite primitive, but it's there, it's working. So this guy is going to take us through making a sword fighting game. All right, this is his version 1 sword fighting game. Yeah, you can see it's quite primitive. It'd be interesting to see where he gets with that. So he's turned it into a lightsaber or something, given some specular highlights there. Okay, so where are we? We're 10 minutes in. So, you know, I mean, this stuff is quite insane. I am going to show you next Replit and the UKASFP website for the conference. So this is a microsite. It's used. I used Replit to make it. It's constructed out of very, very simple code. So it's not hackable. You can't log into it. And you don't need any updates. So all of this was done using Replit. So, and then it's, you know, I mean, it's got all these little features like, you know, mouse over, highlighting. It's got different pages. I want to show you this this section here. If we just go down to getting there. So when I asked Replit to make this site, I said that it should have a page for accommodation and a page for the venue. What I additionally told it was that there were a couple of hotels that we were working with for the accommodation. And in fact, when it built the first version of the website, it actually put those hotels in, but then also added a lot of the details. So it actually went out online and it got all this information for me. And of course, I had to check it was all correct. But in the end, actually, indeed, it was all correct. So let's just go back and have a look at how I did this. I'm not going to go through the whole thing with you because it was actually the result of me working with the AI for, I think it took 4 days in the end. And that's a little bit down to my inexperience with using Replit. So it's a learning journey for me. But so, okay, I'd like to show you just one of the prompts that I used in Replit to develop the heroes section, which is this top section here. And it is an example of how having a little bit of knowledge about how things work can add to what you can get out of a tool. And I said, now I'd like to try something a little more complex. Make another hero section at the top. Consider the attached files. A new hero section should look like the file in the hero example JPEG. So I mocked up what I wanted it to look like in a graphics program. Use CSS to put the image underneath. So I gave it this image. And it will show on the right-hand side, but I want you to put another image on the top on the left-hand side, which is going to be that one. So this isn't a grey section. This is completely clear. The only bit of this image is the color that you can see. So the one sits on top of the other. Now I want you to arrange the text on top with formatting that matches the example. So I didn't tell it what font to use. I didn't tell it the color differences. I didn't tell it anything. I just said, copy it. And that's what it did. First time off, I didn't have to do any error correction on that. It was perfect off the bat. So that's an example of just how powerful it is. But bear in mind, you could have just simply asked Replit to just make something up, and it would have done a perfectly good job. Okay, and so that's how we ended up with this website. Another example of something it did from being prompted without my having any background knowledge as to how it would be done was that I asked it to put a button here that said Add to Calendar, and for there to be a Google Calendar and an Outlook Calendar version of how that would work. Now, I don't know how this works on the back end. It wouldn't take me long to find out, but I certainly wouldn't know how to code it. This gave me that button. It's perfect. I've tested it. It was fine. I had to then prompt it to get it to add slightly better information into the calendar entry, so it's more useful. Okay, so this is the next bit of the jigsaw puzzle. Lots of people have been talking about AI agents. Very few people explain what they are. Simplistically, an AI agent is an AI that, in a way, that has agency or appears to have agency. So an AI that has an automated workflow that can achieve a certain number of tasks. Okay, so here we have one. This is an automation specifically for AIs called N8N. Okay, and this guy here on another YouTube video, really interesting videos, this guy. So basically what he's done is he's created this thing. He's just named it this, but it is de facto an AI agent. What it does is it takes a message in, it pipes the message to a ChatGTP, which has had some basic training. So it's not prompt engineering. It has actually had a basic amount of training data, and I think we've got no more than like 25 points of training. This particular one is designed to output the kinds of messages that you would see on Twitter, so marketing messages. It then spits something out, and then it goes to another AI, which has had a brand brief as a piece of prompt engineering. It's just been prompted with a brand brief, and then another AI that will give feedback on the final outcome of this, and then bounce it back to the first one. I'm showing you this because he's going to run it, and you can see it happening in real time. So write a post about SaaS, bootstrapping, so on and so forth. And can you see how it's bouncing backwards and forwards here? Okay, and here's the output. It's done a reasonably good job, actually. This is exactly the kind of stuff that you find on Twitter all the time, and of course it's one of the reasons I'm not on Twitter. But I think this will this will plug into a conversation that we may have at a later point about the dead internet. So dead internet theory is this idea that a lot, if not predominantly, content on the internet is now being generated by automated systems. And of course now we've got AI to leverage that. The is getting more convincing, it's becoming more human-like. But the problem is that the internet's being saturated by stuff. And there's a real question as to whether or not any of this actually helps anyone. Like, when was the last time you saw something on Twitter or on LinkedIn that, was genuinely helpful? At the end of the day, they've simply turned into advertising platforms, and their original kind of use case has been completely subsumed. In fact, the Oxford English Dictionary word of the year, or at least one of them last year, was n-shitification, which was the description of how a previously useful platform is monetized to the extent that its original use case is no longer relevant. So the end game for agents is not when you build them yourself, in the previous example, but when they're actually just served to you as what AI is now. So I think by the end of 2025, most AI will be agentic AI. A new AI has just been released called Manus, and it went viral with this video on being given a prompt. It's gone out and done a load of research on a bunch of different platforms, and this is just a quick video of what it's been doing behind the scenes. I mean, it's staggering. Can we just go back? And so what I think I'm looking at there are 34 separate and concurrent internet queries, 34 separate bits of research that the AI is doing off the back of one prompt. So finally, NotebookLM. NotebookLM allows you to collate research, and then it can, in fact, generate an entire podcast between two different people from that research. It will then create the text for that podcast and run the text through an AI-powered speech synthesizer. And you can literally play back or download what at this point is a relatively convincing but very American-sounding conversation. Well, if it's relatively convincing now, give it 2 years, and you really won't be able to tell the difference between this and something real that is happening.
Helps you really get to grips with them.
Right, like summarizing, answering questions. I've even heard it can make study guides.
So yeah, American voices, but convincing. For the last demo, I just want to show you this one and just the first couple of minutes of it. You can write your own voiceover, and then you don't need to record it. You train an AI simply by talking to it what your voice sounds like, and then it will synthesize it for you and just play back your words with your voice and your intonations.
Video voiceovers like this take a ton of time to record, but
with AI, you can now quickly clone your voice and have it say anything that you type. So if you don't want to, you don't need to be in any of your future videos at all.
So that concludes my tour of the current landscape for AI, and you can see both some of the potential issues jump out straight away, and you can also see some of the potential use cases. What's more difficult to see is actually where it's going. So obviously the things that we've noticed, they'll get better and better and better, but it's the question of what might it be used for that we can't imagine in terms of solving problems or creating new ones. It would seem that the possibilities are endless.